I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning and welcome to the December 17, 2015 meeting for the Shawnee County Board of County Commissioners. My name is Kevin Cook. I serve as the chair, also representing District 2. Joining me today is Commissioner Shelley Bueller, representing District 1. Good morning. And Commissioner Bob Archer, representing District 2. Good morning.
Good morning.
Madam Clerk, our first item.
First item is item 1 under proclamations, presentations. Presentation regarding the multi-agency exercise held November 18th, Emergency Management and the Sheriff's Office.
Board Commissioners, Dusty Nichols, Emergency Management, and I'll be talking with Mr. Smecca here from the Shawnee County Sheriff's Office. We wanted to just first off say thank you to the Commission for allowing us to use the facility on November 18th to conduct an exercise. It was specifically targeted for testing our response to the facility should something, a threat happen in this facility specifically. Again, our exercise tested the current plans on how to respond should something occur. Notification, how fast the notification gets out, how it gets out. Do we sound an alarm? Do we call on our radio? Do we make a phone call? However the process works. We tested that. The Shawnee County Sheriff's Office SWAT team, what their response was when they get here, testing their tactics and their operations. Crisis negotiations team, when they come in, we had a scenario where they were engaged as well to test their processes. New equipment and plans were tested, and we had other evaluations where specifically security related, so we won't brief those too much. But we did want to mention that we did use volunteers for our community emergency response team, actors from Topeka Civic Theater, Boy Scouts and school groups. They come in and help us as well. Boy Scouts have to sign off on merit badges, so they have a requirement to participate in community exercises, and this was a perfect opportunity for them. We'd love to have them along. And then we actually had special effects by Monster Maker by Night. Jake Jackson, who's a professional makeup artist, and is also a friend of our shop, offered his assistance. And he likes to do community events if possible to help out. But basic scenarios in this facility, in this room specifically, as you see, we simulated a county commission meeting, and the gentleman up here, Sean Nyberg, who's an actor with Topeka Civic Theater, plays a disgruntled person and was mad at you guys. So to a point where it became a threat, and how do we deal with that? The second scenario was in a courtroom, and it was similar to an active shooter type situation of violence in the workplace, specifically geared towards a courtroom. You see a lot of this in the news. We use those on both scenarios. We use nationally known scenarios that have actually happened, wrote those into these, and practiced if that were to happen here. So that's what those scenarios are for. We definitely want to say thank you to our volunteers. Again, this is Monster Maker by Night. He's not really injured, so we had some makeup artists, but these are volunteers that came in and helped out, and we want to say thank you to them for allowing us to do that. If I missed anything,
Good morning, Commissioners. Major J. Smecca, Shawnee County Sheriff's Office. I just want to express my gratitude to Shawnee County Emergency Management and Dusty Nichols. Anytime you have training, and when you're done, the team members, whoever's training, said that was excellent. They enjoyed it. They want to do it again. You hit the mark. What Dusty and his team brought was they significantly enhanced the realistic nature of what we did. And it provided our team an opportunity to gain tactical proficiencies in a venue that we may or may not have to utilize sometime. So it really was effective. We are going to do it again. We'd like to try to do at least public buildings once or more a year, and we change our venues up. So, and thank you to all the volunteers who made the training that much more special. So thank you, and thank you to Dusty.
You will be getting the after-action report, and we did learn some lessons that we're going to be improving some of our processes on, and some additional training as well. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item 2, unfinished business. Number 1, Consider approval to disseminate the request for proposals for ambulance service.
Morning, Commissioners. Nelson Castile, Ambulance Compliance. We left Monday. I was tasked with providing you with some information. I have printouts here. I'll also put this up on the board here.
Thank you.
What you have in your hands is 4 pages of the 238-page report that we asked the 911 Center to run for us. This is data on the first responder calls and the rescue calls that occurred in Shawnee County between June 1st and December 14th. I'm going to pull it up here so everybody else can see what it is. It was broken down. This is an Excel format. There's different fields that they can manipulate here through the filtering, through the sort. It breaks it down into the call date, the call time, the call location, whether it is a cross street or whether it is a address itself is in there. This data also on the very last corner over here tells you whether it was in the city limits or out in one of the townships, or in the case of the first one, it was on the Kansas Air National Guard area of the base where they had a first responder. This data should suffice for what Mr. Duncan had requested. Would be my recommendation, as I put in the email the other day, that this be included as an annex to the RFP, just as we're going to do with the FTP from the GIS points that will be added in there for the mapping as well.
Any objection to that being added to the RFP? All right, so I'll then make just to formalize, I'll make a motion to add the exhibit presented today to the RFP.
Second.
Any other discussion?
I was just going to say it probably needs to be better identified.
Okay.
You want to put a title or a file name to it?
Yes, sir.
Would be helpful.
Yes, sir. When it goes up on purchasing's website,
Okay.
I've talked to them, there'll be the RFP itself, and then any of the supporting information will be added down below so that they can download it, or and it will be in this raw form. We won't lock it, that way they can go in there and figure out the longitude and latitudes they need, or figure out or graph what it is that they're looking for.
Good. So motion made by Commissioner Cook to add this to the RFP, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Further, our discussion about the RFP. As I recall where we left off last, there was discussion about whether or not we would want to amend or change the RFP provision, section 1.5, on page 8 of the RFP. Mr. Duncan had asked for specific language to be added to the RFP that would allow, as I understand it, a bidder to add other alternative experiences and ideas that may further enhance delivery of EMS to the residents of Shawnee County. It's the specific wording, so that if they did add something further, or if another bidder did add something outside of the RFP, that it would not be deemed non-responsive. At that time, there was a motion made by Commissioner Cook for the addition of that language to the RFP. It was then withdrawn so that we could defer till today. This time, having had some chance to reflect on it, I would reintroduce the request by Mr. Duncan as a motion to add this to the RFP. Is there a second for it? Hearing no second, that motion then dies for a lack of a second. Nelson, is there anything additional to the RFP that has developed or any other discussion from your board before we progress?
Nothing I'm aware of, sir.
Is there any further discussion of, Mr. Duncan? I see.
Chuck Duncan, I represent Paramedics Plus. When we left here, the request was that you get the data from the AMR. There was a question as to whether or not you had a right to get that data. I have looked at the contract. I left a message for the county councilor. Page 16 of your contract makes it very clear that the Board of County Commissioners shall have access during regular business hours to response data, to care records, vehicle, equipment, facilities, etc. It's your data. The data, I greatly appreciate the fact they went back and they were able to get this data from your communication center. The fact is, it's not everything. It's not a level playing field. It doesn't tell us the nature of the call. It doesn't tell us whether there was a transport. So it's 2/3. So it's your data. Your contract provides that it's your data. You should request that data, and you should provide that data for the last 6 months to all bidders. If indeed what you want is a fair bid with everybody having the same information. So I did check that, and I do think that's yours. I would ask that I'm confused. On Monday, the ambulance compliance officer said had no problem with the language that I suggested. The current contractor indicated they had no problem with the language that we suggested. And so it seems to me that this language with regard to the alternates, which is going to give you potentially new ideas on matters. I know it was said on Monday that we were, quote, late to the game. I did come in and visit with all 3 commissioners over 2 weeks ago, and this was one of the items on the list. So this wasn't necessarily a new matter. And I really am a little surprised that the commission would not want to have people provide to them potential information on things that are occurring in the rest of the world that might benefit Shawnee County. So I would respectfully ask that you at least perhaps reconsider that. And the county councilor even said that the way the language was written was legal. I was going to say when I first got up, I thought maybe the courthouse threat was about lawyers this morning, but I guess I'm glad to hear that it wasn't. So anyway, so with that, we are still concerned about the data and the lack of a level playing field, which we are supposed to raise in accordance with the bid document that you're about to vote on. And I would ask that you, and not having heard an objection from anybody that's going to be a potential bidder, I really think you might want to reconsider your failure to include that alternate language. Thank you.
Looking to the county councilor to weigh in on one or both of the issues raised. Mr. Duncan has raised as an issue that under the contract as it exists currently with AMR, American Medical Response, we have the ability as the county commission to request their data. Is that accurate?
Well, he read the language, and I'm going to read it again. The Board of County Commissioners shall have access. Now, what that means is we have the ability to go look at their data, but nowhere in there does it say that the data becomes ours or that we gain possession of it. We politely asked AMR, and AMR politely said that's proprietary information. We'll let you look at it, but we won't let you print it and give it to someone else. And I don't think that the language in that paragraph is strong enough that we can strong arm, for lack of a better word, that data and then release it to the world. If this is something that if you do one in the next contract, we can address it as such. And I will point out we're dealing with language that was pretty much pre-GPS in the world. So it was impossible at the time that paragraph was written to understand what the information revolution has gotten us into this day. So that's kind of where we're at. We can look at their data, but I don't know that we have the ability to take it from them and give it to another party. I don't think the language is that strong.
Good question.
I have
Yes.
a question. Rich, this contract was written pre-HIPAA laws as well?
Well, yes, but we've revised
that
it, we've revised it since
some?
then. Yeah, the original master contract is very, very old, but as laws like HIPAA, it's been amended and revised, so there's no HIPAA issues.
Okay.
But we do run into things that are technology,
Right,
the
okay.
way this world's moving at the current moment. And, you know, I'm not quite for sure that even in a new contract, the new vendor would give that up. We don't know that. It's something that we'll have to engage in with contractual negotiations when when we pick our vendor that we want to negotiate with.
Other questions,
Thank you.
Commissioner Bueller?
No, not a bridge.
Again,
Commissioner Coates?
Yes.
I believe there might be some members of the ambulance committee that looked at the RFP, the scope of this, and if there, I think, is Chief McNorton here? I'm going to call him out. Sorry, I can't see you.
thank you.
But I think it might be helpful. They had a good deal of discussion, and there was a vote not to include this language, so.
Yes, ma'am. Carl McNorton, Fire Chief, Soldier Township Fire, and I'm chair of the RFP committee. The information that Mr. Duncan had presented to you is what he had also presented to the Ambulance Advisory Board on December 2nd. And we've taken into consideration several different items that he brought forth to us that we did accept and thought was very valuable. The alternative measures part of that, we felt it didn't give us the tools necessary in order to evaluate any future RFPs. And as we go through with the vendors as they bid it. The RFP itself is pretty broad and very flexible, and it's performance-based, so it allows a lot of opportunities for alternative measures within that anyway, let alone go specific, because if we go, to me anyway, if we go alternative contract or alternative RFP, we may be sitting down and having to negotiate the whole thing through in order to get through to an RFP and a potential contract.
Can you maybe elaborate on the lack of tools and what you mean by that? As I understand the argument from Mr. Duncan is that if a bidder, Paramedics Plus, or one of the other 54, trying to see where Nelson's at, 54 bidders that we're going to send this out to, if they have a idea of an alternative delivery of EMS to Shawnee County that doesn't fit within the square corners of what currently is in Shawnee County, what is it that the Ambulance Advisory Board is concerned about?
Well, the thing that we looked at is, as we developed the RFP, is how we're going to be able to evaluate and score a vendor as what they provided. It's performance-based, so we have the ability to look at what performance measures that they say they can meet and how that criteria is. With an alternative method, I'm not sure that we're going to be able to do that without literally having somebody from legal sitting right there beside us to go through the whole proposal for us to evaluate. And none of us are attorneys, so we're not in a position to negotiate, so to speak, a contract for the county commission. And if we got 54 potential bidders, there is no way in the world I think we can get it done by July 1 of this year, or 2016.
Obviously, that's the number of people that it gets sent out to. That doesn't mean that it,
Right. The way
any
it
or
sounds,
all
we're
of
going to have at
them.
least 8 or 10,
Yes.
so.
Are there other questions for?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any members of the Ambulance Advisory Board or members of the public that want to add any further comment? I might note that I did have an opportunity to speak briefly last evening with Mr. Federico, who is a representative, lobbyist, representative, I'll put that word, in this case, of the American Medical Response. And it's my understanding that while they are not advocating for this provision to be added, they're not objecting to it either. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, again, the motion had been made, died for a lack of a second. I don't believe that under the Robert's Rules of Order, I'm
Yeah.
allowed to bring it up, since I'm on the losing side.
I'll move to approve, to disseminate the request for proposals for the ambulance service with, and I don't know if we need to add the annex as part of that.
Do say as amended.
As amended,
As amended.
there we go.
Second.
That's my motion.
There's been a motion made by Commissioner Bueller to approve the request for proposal for ambulance, emergency ambulance service as amended, and second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Good luck. Madam Clerk, our next item.
Item 3, consent agenda.
Are there any questions or comments regarding the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer to approve the consent agenda as presented, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item 4, new business. A, County Clerk, number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Vouchers are totaling $841,471.63. $337,442.98 is withholding accounts with Kansas Department of Revenue. $161,352.13 makes up detention facility. And then $98,880.69 is with Parks and Recreation, and the bulk of that is with utilities with Westar and Kansas Gas. So I have no questions. Move approval.
There's been a motion made by Commissioner Bueller for approval of the vouchers as presented,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
I'll make a motion to approve the correction orders.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item A3, consider approval of Resolution 2015-113, authorizing a 2016 cereal malt beverage license, including Sunday sales, to the Pecos League LLC located at 3025 Southeast Croco Road. And Commissioners, this is, as I said, a cereal malt beverage license request, including Sunday sales, has been approved by the Counselor's Office, reviewed by the Counselor's Office. There are no delinquent taxes, has met all of the qualifications and inspections and notification by the township, so.
And as noted, this would be for the Bettis complex for the Pecos League. So,
Yes.
Just to
That's the location,
just to
yes.
discuss where the location is.
Right.
So, is there-
Move to adopt the resolution.
Motion made by Commissioner Bueller,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item A4, consider approval of resolution number 2015-114, authorizing a 2016 cereal malt beverage license, including Sunday sales, to Dilemma LLC, doing business as Buzzard's Pizza, located at 745 Northwest Hunters Ridge Circle, Suite A. And again, this is strictly has met all the criteria of the Counselor's Office. The health inspections, there are no taxes owing, and we have reviewed everything, and everything's in order.
I'll make a motion to approve the cereal malt beverage.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Next item.
Item B, Parks and Recreation. Number 1, presentation regarding accomplishments of the partnership with the Topeka Civic Theater and Academy.
Good morning, Commissioners. Randy Luby, Shawnee County Parks and Recreation. As you're aware, our master plan, one of the main components of the master plan was to form partnerships to help reduce subsidies and find to run our programs in a more efficient way. Take you back in time, the Helen Hawker Theater, which is what Topeka Civic Theater manages now, the brief history of that was run by the city Parks and Recreation for years, and then in 2012 became the operation of Shawnee County when we merged with the city Parks and Recreation. They were managed, the theater program was managed by 4 full-time employees as well as several part-time employees. The director of the theater took early retirement in 2012, and we also had a couple of the other positions that were vacant. At that time, we explored forming a partnership and going out for RFP of trying to run the Helen Hocker Theater. And it's a coincidence because 3 years ago to today, the county commissioners selected Topeka Civic Theater to manage and operate the Helen Hocker Theater as well as our other theater programs. A contract followed about 3 weeks later, and in that contract, we were able to reduce the subsidy $50,000 of how we used to operate it. So it did show the savings, and today we have Vicki Brocky, CEO and President of Topeka Civic Theater, to give a brief presentation on some of the success that she's experienced over the last 3 years.
Good morning, Commissioners. Vicki Brocky, Topeka Civic Theater and CEO President, and Merry Christmas. I wanted to say that right up front. We're very, very proud of the partnership we've had the last 3 years with Shawnee County Parks and Recreation. The entire staff is wonderful to work with. We believe we've been very successful in meeting all of the measurements that were in the original contract, including you ask us to maintain the heart, the soul, and the spirit of Helen Hocker Theater. We know that we have done that, as well as expand the programming and enhance and expand the educational component. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and we truly look forward to the continuation of the partnership. Sean, would you like to share a little bit?
Sure. I'll speak for everybody. Sean Leisinger, Chairman of the Board for Topeka Civic Theater and Academy. I got to be involved in this from the beginning about 3 years ago. The success that we have had with doing it for less money and more programming and more kids would not have been possible without a number of folks that we have involved in this process that have been advocates for making this work. Going to introduce a couple of them and have them come up and speak. One of them is a community volunteer who was actively involved with Helen Hocker before we took over. Kyle Lee, if you want to come up. Is involved in everything else. And Joanna Lashley is our artistic director at Helen Hocker, and they're both going to speak just a little bit to what we've done.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Kyle Mead. My wife and I are volunteers at Helen Hocker and have been in no small part because a number of our children have been involved. Our family kind of spans the recent history of involvement, as Mr. Luby detailed. My older kids attended camps and productions at Helen Hocker when it was strictly a city-run arrangement. We were still involved in camps and productions during the transition period when the county merger occurred, and we've also been involved in the time since then. And as you might recall, this time 3 years ago, there were quite a number of concerns about losing the culture of Helen Hocker, about losing that heart, soul, spirit, as Vicki said. There was some animosity. There were a lot of hard feelings. In some quarters, there was very much an us versus them mentality. There was a fear that Helen Hocker could become a stepchild of TCT, or worse, merely become TCT in the park. That heart, soul, and spirit would be lost. And I am here today to tell you that none of those things have come to pass. My family, at least when TCT was named as the contractor, was taking a wait-and-see attitude. And there were a number of signs that were very, very hopeful for us. And the first good sign was the staff that was announced to take over the Helen Hocker program. Joanna Lashley, Adam Jenks, Lori Euler, Linda Denton, have been and continue to be consummate professionals, amazing artistic and teaching individuals. Another thing that was a good sign is almost immediately after the contract was completed, TCT volunteers came in to do a little spruce up of the building. You know, not a complete makeover, but some paint and that sort of thing that was desperately needed. Another thing early on is that the board held a number of focus groups, listening groups, with volunteers like myself and my wife, other people involved in the theater community, including Doug Goheen and other folks here in town. And they have taken a lot of the ideas that we mentioned at that time and have made them reality, and I'll let Joanna and the others speak a little bit more to that. So what is it we have gotten? Well, we've gotten great programming for youth and adults, exceptional technical quality in the performance, in set construction, in costumes, every aspect of the community theater, and we have a lot more volunteering than in the city days. No more is it us versus them. And yet, through all of this, they have maintained the small-scale, approachable attitude or atmosphere that Helen Hawker has been known for decades in this town, and expanded the opportunities for all involved. They've maintained and enhanced, in fact, the youth programming that has always been a part of the Helen Hawker experience. The Bathhouse Players program for high school age youth, Topeka Youth Players for 10 through 13-year-olds. Great opportunities for learning about theater craft, both on stage, backstage, in the technical booth. And it gives these kids and their families great opportunity to support one another in this endeavor, just like a sports team, but with costumes. One of the things that I want to touch on that came out of our focus group was a suggestion that maybe Helen Hawker could present one-act plays, maybe a one-act night, and have it in the theater as a different sort of situation. Well, the staff took that and ran with it. Last spring, there was a series of one-acts that was presented, but what they did is they had the high school Bathhouse Players be the directors and the producers, and the Topeka Youth Players and some Bathhouse Players being the actors. And so those were successfully run both at the theater, at the mall, at the library, at Noto. And I'm proud to say that my son, who is a sixth grader, has an opportunity this year to convert an essay that he wrote for school into a one-act play that hopefully with some polishing will be able to be directed and produced this spring. And that opportunity is there because of the work that the TCT folks have done over at Helen Hawker. There have been tons of other opportunities in cooperation. Another of the big successes that we've been involved with personally was the Project Halloween and Project Terror projects that went on in October, and that was also a great coordination with the zoo for Boo at the Zoo to get patrons to both of those events. So Helen Hawker, I think, has been successfully integrated into the TCT family and culture, but it surely has not lost that heart, soul, and spirit that it's always been known for, its long-time identity. From our perspective, it has been a rousing success, and I strongly encourage renewal of the contract now and into the future, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you, Kyle. Good morning, Commissioners. Joe Lastly, Topeka Civic Theater and Helen Hawker Theater. And I know you've seen me at a few of these meetings, but I'm not sure if you have met our other three staff members at Helen Hawker Theater, and I just want to take a moment to introduce them. We have our resident designer and technical director, Adam Jenks, in the back of the room. We also have our resident costume designer and a contract director, Lori Euler. We also have our office manager and our box office manager, Linda Denton. And they're extremely key in the work that we do over at Helen Hawker Theater. And just very quickly, some of the stuff I was going to hit on were going to be the areas of growth. And specifically, in addition to maintaining Helen Hawker programs that pre-existed us, we created the outreach program, which we've run successfully for almost 3 years. We continue doing our children's outreach in Rossville. We are adding this year a new aspect to that, where we are taking the outreach program to the VA and serving veterans with a drama therapy project. We've just started this in the last month, and so that's one of our new pieces of outreach that we're really excited about. We've continued our Bathhouse Player educational trips. We originally started it a couple years ago with just one trip. We're now going to at least 2 trips a year, looking to expand that as well. We are going to continue our TYP 1X, providing opportunities not only for the Topeka Youth Players, but for the Bathhouse Players who want to direct. We created our haunted house experience last year and had a successful first year. We did it again in 2015 and almost doubled our attendance at both the youth and the adult production. And our bathhouse players program during the summer continues to be robust. This last year especially, we experienced a lot of growth in the technical aspect, where Adam at one point had 6 to 7 technical volunteers, and these are of course all teenagers in the shop. Last year he was up to 17 or 20. And where Lori had started with maybe 2 or 3 volunteers in the costume shop, she has moved up to 6 to 10. And we're expecting that growth to continue. Thank you very much for letting us present to you today, and thank you very much for your support.
Thank you.
A couple of quick kind of closing words here. We appreciate the opportunity you have given us to put this program together and make it thrive. I think the commissioners are probably pretty happy the last couple of years we've actually brought money back to you at the end of the year. We hope to do a little bit of that this year again. Beyond that, we are selling out shows, we are reaching more kids, we are reaching more families, we are giving them an outlet that they don't have anywhere else. We've appreciated the opportunity to do it. We would look forward to another 3 years of doing it, and look forward to looking for efficiencies and more opportunities to reach out throughout the community through theater. So thank you very much, and we encourage you to approve the contract.
Commissioner Bueller, any comments on the presentation?
Well, it's hard to believe that it's been 3 years, and that's one of those votes I do remember well, because it wasn't I guess it wasn't a happy time. It was just, there was a lot of change, and you all have done an excellent job of preserving what Helen Hawker has, been known for, so thank you. And I'm going to support this for sure.
Well, thank you. It was an emotional time for all of us because we believe so passionately in what theater brings to the community, especially to the kids. So we as a theater community appreciated all the thoughtful work that you put into making the original decision. We really do believe we've proven that we're great partners. We appreciate the partnership and do look forward to many more years.
Commissioner Archer, any thoughts on the presentation?
Yeah, wow. Excellent job. This is a partnership that's worked very, very well, and I hope that'll be the headline in the story in the Capitol Journal tomorrow morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
With that draws us then to the next item. We can discuss that.
Item B2, consider approval of contract C 540-2015 with Topeka Civic Theater and Academy for the management and operation of the Helen Hawker Center for Performing Arts and Association for $207,250 in 2016, $204,000 in 2017, and $200,660 in 2018.
Again, good morning, Commissioners. Randy Luby. I just want to thank Kyle and the staff for the work they've done. That was great testimony, Kyle. Glad to hear that. This contract is very similar to the previous contract, with the exception we have language of our master plan in this contract. Basically, we'll be meeting quarterly with their staff on updates and program ideas. There's going to be measurable performance standards set, and also maintenance standards that will be taken care of. Also, the payment has been reduced over the 3-year period. The payment will be reduced roughly $20,000. And again, they watch it so closely that they turn money back generally each year. So I hope that ask for your approval to approve this contract.
In recognition of preserving the Helen Hawker spirit and all of the work that you've done over the last 3 years and your job well done, I move for approval of the contract.
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Our next item.
Item B3, consider approval of contract C 541-2015 with Kansas Alliance for Wetlands and Streams for a grant to construct a bioretention cell rain garden at the girls softball complex area of Lake Shawnee for a total of $23,775, with the Shawnee County's share being $9,175 and an additional $2,000 in pro bono consulting services.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Knight, Parks and Recreation. Before I get into that item, I just wanted to express to my gratitude for hearing all that stuff. I get tied up visiting with Rich Eckert's office about contracts like what you've got here, Betty Griner's office about where we're going to find possible ways to fund some different things. I kind of forget sometimes why I got into Parks and Recreation, and they helped remind me of that this morning. So it affects a lot of people and a positive effect. This grant that's before you, we were down here about a week ago, asked for permission to apply for this grant. We received that grant, and staff has worked hard to get the contract back to you. You have all of that stuff in front of you. The commitment of the county is around $9,175, and most of that will be staff and labor. Be happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Any questions on this contract?
Move to approve.
A second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer for approval, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item B4, consider approval of request to submit a grant proposal to the Kansas Department of Wildlife, Parks, and Tourism for a National Recreational Trails Program grant for the northern perimeter of the fitness trail in Gage Park.
Another item, Commissioners, that was before you recently was to apply for the grant with the Sunflower Foundation for a perimeter fitness trail at Gage Park. We found out shortly after the approval from this commission that we were successful in getting that grant from the Sunflower Foundation, so we'll be coming back to you with some of those documents. But at the same time, another opportunity has presented itself for us to finish that section of the perimeter trail, and that's to work with the National Recreational Trails groups. And we're here today to ask for permission to apply for that grant. That grant is even a better grant. It's not a 50-50 grant. It's an 80-20 grant with 20% in Shawnee County. Bill Rippon with our department works extremely hard on pulling all of these loose pieces together, and he's here if you have any specific questions about this grant or that.
John, when we discussed this, is this additional trail? Is this the same trail? Is this a different, the first one was a 50-50, this is now an 80-20. Are we replacing the previous grant with this grant? What's going on?
No, the previous grant that was before you would not go as far as what we wanted it to. We would have to come back down for another request. This grant finishes that section of the trail. It would take it all the way along the northern perimeter and a little bit of the western perimeter of Gage Park. The same $110,000, the county's cost won't go up any. We can use the same $110,000 because it's one trail project. I believe that's correct.
All right. So for the same amount of money, we get more trail.
Yes.
All right.
I just have a question. John, I know that trails scored pretty highly in the master plan.
Yes.
It's mentioned there. But then also within the master plan, there's discussion and plans for a Gage Park master plan.
Yes.
And so can you just briefly just let the public know kind of maybe that preliminary discussion?
Well, I intend to, as soon as we get the new advisory board set up and begin to also work through the foundation, begin to put together the preliminary stuff that we need to come back down here to the commissioners and ask that we go out and do a formal master plan of Gage Park. I think the staff that manage the place, the partners that are there, to find some way that the Children's Discovery Center, the zoo, Helen Hawker Theater, that all of these begin to work together and use each other's resources. I think it's time to do some of that, and I intend to do that right after the first of the year.
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion then to approve?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Bueller.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item B5, consider approval of an emergency purchase of professional services for repairs to an earthen berm at the Cypress Ridge Golf Course with a request to transfer up to $200,000 from the 2015 budget to a job ledger set up as a county project number.
Commissioners, I'm done with all the good news stories today. Here's a real world one. We just realized that the structure at Cypress Ridge Golf Course, the culvert there, has, it was probably a 15, 20-year structure, and that golf course got close to 50 years out of it, but it's failing and leaking around that, the spillway structure. We had Tom Locke and Tom Flanagan from Public Works come out and help provide us some expertise on that. I think it was everybody's recommendation that it fell into the emergency category, get started on it as quick as we can. Just right before this meeting, I visited with Kerry Golden, and he said he'd make sure that the Division of Water Resources, all of the appropriate personnel are discussed with this. What this request is to use some leftover monies from this year's budget, not to carry it over into a project fund that can only be used for the repairs on this. That was the recommendation of the Audit Finance Department.
I see Betty coming up, but just to clarify, what this does is it sets aside $200,000 that would be used towards the project.
It would be up to $200,000, depending on what is left in their budget at the end of the year. The reason we would use a project fund for this, as we have with other things that we've talked about, this will carry over between more than 1 year. That way it can be one project, even though it's, since this is December, it's going to affect 15 and 16. And that's why we would use a project fund for this, because it carries over into another year. But it will not, we will, how do I say this?
You guys don't know Betty very well. The project costs $100,000, and she took $200. She's going to take the other $100 back and use it for the rest of the county.
But at the same
Is that what you
time,
wanted to say?
but at the same time, this is not a indication that would be the actual cost of the repairs.
No, and that's why we're saying up to, because this is an emergency. It's something we've got to get started on quickly. That's why we're saying up to. Also, if there's anything that's transferred into that project fund that is not needed when the project is completed, it will be transferred back to the general fund.
Are there any questions? I'll move approval of the creation of a job ledger for the amount of up to $200,000 for the emergency repair to the Cypress Ridge Golf Course berm.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Our next item.
Item C, corrections. Number 1, consider approval of request to reclassify one vacant corrections specialist position to elementary programs coordinator position at a salary of $44,933.78, including benefits.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Cole, Department of Corrections. Over the past year, Shawnee County Department of Corrections, and I believe the community, has had the benefit of a tremendous partnership with Washburn University in their VISTA program to provide us a worker that's worked through their grant programs to come to the Department of Corrections and help us revitalize and set up our new reentry programs that we have in the Department of Corrections. This VISTA worker has gone above and beyond, setting up our relationships and our partnerships in the community, helping our work release inmates find meaningful employment. I've said it before that when people find meaningful employment, they're 70% less likely to reoffend. That our VISTA worker, this has been a tremendous program. We were recently informed that the money was going away from Washburn University. And I wanted to look at revitalizing our program and being able to continue these services to the community and our inmate population. That in looking at our position, I did not have I did not want to come and just ask for a brand new position to add to the number of positions at the Department of Corrections. What I've done is that I went to the union and I spoke with the business representative, Mike Scribner, regarding the utilization of one of our vacant correction specialist positions and asking to upgrade it to a more qualified position when it comes to reentry, somebody who specializes in reentry and these types of initiatives. That I did meet with some other agencies to look to see about the possible partnership with, like with ISP, things like that, talking to them regarding some of the added expense to this because it is higher than an officer. I spoke with, and when I talked to Ed and I met Ed O'Rear with the Community Corrections, that they did not have any funds that could add to this to help outside their own agency. I did meet with Jim Crow. I did meet briefly with Betty Griner regarding this position. This is a position that is needed, something that we do need to have at the Department of Corrections. We have the money in the facility or in our budget to be able to do this, and this is something that is very valuable to our mission at the Department of Corrections. So with that, I would ask for approval of this.
So Brian, in a nutshell, you're asking to spend $44,933 so that as inmates leave the facility, they don't come back.
Absolutely.
And so that they're more productive in the community, so we're spending some money to hopefully regain the money or not spend as much in further incarceration.
Absolutely.
Any other discussion?
And improve lives.
And improve lives.
Very well said.
That's an important part.
Yes. Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item D, Public Works Solid Waste. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of Contract C-542-2015, Amendment Number 6 to Contract C-372-2005, allowing Finney and Turnip Seed Transportation and Civil Engineering, LLC, to provide engineering services and inspection documentation for the 2016 biennial bridge inventory and appraisal of rural secondary and off-system bridges and on-call bridge inspection and appraisal services at a cost not to exceed $98,250.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Block, Public Works and Solid Waste. This is the contract that comes up every 2 years in which, as a county, we are required to have all of our bridges in our entire system inspected and kept in the inventory that goes into the National Bridge Inventory System that then is transferred up through KDOT to the Federal Highway Administration. We have utilized Finney and Turnip Seed to do this work for us for the past many, many years, and they are very, very qualified, very good at this work. So we recommend that we renew the contract with them to provide these services again. In addition, with this being over a 2-year period, there are oftentimes throughout a 2-year period where we need a bridge expert to come look at a certain bridge structure that may have some issues, and that's what the on-call services are about. We've utilized them in this capacity over the years. It's worked very well, and we would like to continue it with this contract amendment. The funding for this, we fund this from our special bridge fund account. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Any questions regarding the contract?
Any questions? Move approval of the contract.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Bueller.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item D2, consider authorization and execution of Contract C-543-2015 with Finney and Turnip Seed Transportation and Civil Engineering, LLC, for professional design services for the Northwest 94th Street Bridge over Little Soldier Creek for $54,500 from the 2004 countywide half-cent sales tax revenue.
Commissioners, Tom Block again with Public Works and Solid Waste. This too is a Public Works item. And this is in follow-up, as you may recall. We had applied for a grant through KDOT to assist in the cost of replacing this bridge on 94th Street, which is on the Jackson County, Shawnee County line. We were successful in getting that grant, which reduced the county's cost from about $800,000 or so down to about $200,000, in which we will share with Jackson County. This is for the design work for that project, and we believe our recommendation is to have Finney and Turnip Seed do this work again. They are extremely qualified bridge design firm, and it's our recommendation that we approve the contract with Finney and Turnip Seed for the design services. And funding for this work would be coming from the current half-cent sales tax program.
Questions regarding the contract? I'll move approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Thank you, Tom. Our next item.
Item E, Health Agency. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of Contract C-544-2015 with Dr. Mahasan De Silva to provide psychiatric services to patients of the health agency at a cost of $150 per hour.
Good morning, Commissioners. Alice Weingartner, Health Agency. This is an ongoing contractual arrangement that we have maintained with Dr. Da Silva. He provides significant support in our clinic to those patients who require psychiatric medications, as well as to the providers who are seeing patients who might be dealing with some mental health issues. So I'd be glad to answer any other questions.
Any questions regarding the contract?
Move approval.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Bueller.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item E2, consider authorization and execution of contract C-545-2015 with Dr. David Rodehofer to assist staff in providing mental health services to patients at the health agency at a cost of $100 per hour.
This contract, again, is a contract that we have had in place for a number of years with Dr. Rodehofer, and again, he's supporting those patients who may need behavioral health assistance in our primary care setting. So I would be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Move to approve the contract.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer for approval, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item E3, consider authorization and execution of contract C-546-2015 with Dr. Gianfranco Pisano to continue serving in the capacity of the health officer of Shawnee County at an annual cost of $50,400 plus costs of licensing, malpractice insurance, and continuing education.
Morning, Commissioners. Allison Alejos, Health Agency. This is an annual renewal with Dr. Pizzino. He has served as a health officer since 2006. We are required by statute to have a health officer with a medical degree. He does several things for the agency, many things that may not be seen overly by the public, but he is very involved with the work that we do with our emergency management type activities. He helps with our communicable disease outbreaks. He helps us by approving our standing orders so that we can provide vaccinations and things of that nature. He's on call 24/7. I can tell you that when he goes on vacation out of the country, we have access to him. He makes certain that he's available as we need him. He does do, he tries to do every 2 week meetings with our staff, our communicable disease staff, so that he can get updated on the activities of that area. He helps us with isolation and quarantine orders, among many other things. So I would ask that we be able to get his license renewed. There has not been an increase in his rate since 2009, so he has stayed the same.
Okay. Any questions?
No. Move approval.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Bueller. I'll second. Second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Thank you. Our next item.
Item F, Audit Finance. Number 1, consider approval of resolution number 2015-115 and 2015-116, formalizing the procedures for the annual transfer of medical payment funds for the Department of Corrections and the Sheriff's Office to a specialized fund.
Good morning, Betty Greiner, Director of Administrative Services. This proposal is a way to more effectively budget medical costs for the Sheriff's Department and for the Department of Corrections. As I'm sure you're aware, medical costs can fluctuate in quite extreme amounts within, if the Sheriff's Department wants to arrest one person that ended up having heart problems or something like that, those could be significant costs. As the system is set up right now, they would really be required to budget based on a worst-case scenario. What we want to try to do is try to budget over an average cost. And then in those years that we, have lower costs, we can set those monies aside. So then in those years when we have higher costs, we have those reserves to use. We have talked to these departments. They are in favor of this. To give you kind of a little idea of what we're looking at for this year, if these were put into place right now in the Sheriff's Department, There was $125,000 that was budgeted for this, and as I said, one person with a heart problem, could use that easily. Year-to-date, there has been costs of $5,731. So $119,000 that they will have at the end of the year. These funds, if you approve this, would be transferred to a job ledger just strictly for the sheriff and strictly for medical costs. They would not be able to be used for anything else. The jail had budgeted $2,980,000. So far this year, they have spent $2,439,208. So about $540,000 is remaining. Now, at the end of the year, it will not be that large because we will have December costs and things like that will reduce that. But hopefully, they will have funds left at the end of the year. Theirs would go into a separate fund also just for the jail. They have a division that is just for medicals rather than one line item as the Sheriff's Department. They have a division. That division can only be used for medical costs, and that's what this budget is for. So I ask for your approval of this request.
Any questions or discussion on this item? I'll move approval of it. It just reflects where we stand in current state of affairs. Medical costs do continue to rise. They are unpredictable. As Brian Cole, the director of the Department of Corrections, has come to us to talk to us every year, with one incident or one inmate, we could wipe out an entire fund very quickly. So I will move approval of the request.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item F2, update on revenues and expenditures.
Good morning again. I am here for our monthly update. This update is as of November 30th. I will start on the revenue side. As you can see, we have received through the end of November $98,702,000. We had budgeted $96,537,000. I'll go through the different categories on where that variance lies, but we have a positive variance of $2,165,000. Now, I will go through this fairly quickly because our budget for the month of November, our budget variance is $18,000. So basically, these variances have stayed the same from October, but we will go through them briefly. This chart just shows the different categories of revenue that we've received, and of course, the largest is property taxes, followed by other taxes. The green is property-related fees, charges for services, and then miscellaneous revenue. The first category we're looking at is property tax revenue. Now, we did not receive a distribution in the month of November, so this has not changed from last month. We have a positive variance, or we have received $432,000 more than we had budgeted. But as a percentage, that is 0.06%. So just right on budget of what we had anticipated. Other tax revenue, the variance on that is a positive $946,000. That majority of that is made up of motor vehicle taxes, which are estimated by the state, and $851,000 positive variance on motor vehicle taxes for the year. Property related fees, this is mostly mortgage registration fees and the related fees to that. We have a positive variance on this of $100,712, and most of that is additional filing fees. You will remember that they changed the way that mortgage registration fees are received, and so we do have a positive variance in that by a small amount. The next is charges for services. We are under budget on this, in this category of $155,000. That is mostly attributable to Parks and Rec, as it has been this whole year because of the weather. And you'll see that the expenses are down because of that also. And then the last category is other revenue. We have a positive variance in that of $841,000, and $419,000 of that comes from delinquent taxes, which came in at higher than I'd estimated. And then also our city-county highway tax has come in at $451,000 above what the state had estimated. So any questions on the revenue? This is just a chart that shows the percentages. As you can see, property taxes are 74% of all of our income.
Any questions regarding revenue?
Okay, we will go on to the expenditure side. You can see through November we have spent $84,003,979 compared to a budget of $85,890,828. There again, this chart just shows you the different categories and the makeup of those categories. We currently, as you can see, we currently have a positive variance, which means we have spent less than we had budgeted, of $1,886,000. Now we'll go through the different categories and how that variance will decrease before the end of the year. But this is as of the snapshot view as of the end of November. The public safety category, you can see we have actually overspent the budget on that one by $24,000. That was due to the coroner's office and that transition costs on that. That will be taken care of by the end of the year, but that's why we're just slightly over budget on that one. Oops, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong graph. I'm on the wrong line.
Yeah, I don't think
Let's
that's
back up a minute. We are on public safety. In public safety, you can see we have a positive variance of $1,413,000. This is mostly attributable to the sheriff's office, and as you know, we have had the sheriff's office has had multiple items on the agenda in the past few weeks, which account to about $1.1 million. So that variance will go down significantly. And now we'll go to public health. And this is the one that we are slightly over by $24,000, like I say, due to the transition in the coroner's office. The next is administrative services. In this one, we have a positive variance where we are down under what we had budgeted by $134,000. Most of that is attributable to the contingency fund that we have not spent it. When I was budgeting for the contingency fund this year, I just spread it evenly over the year, and we have not used 11/12 of it through the end of November. The next is Public Works. We are under budget in Public Works by $111,000, I'm sorry, and that is mostly on timing, on their projects. It's very hard to time from year to year when they'll spend that money. The next is Parks, Recreation, and Expo Center. We are under budget of $102,000 on that, and as I mentioned earlier, Parks and Rec, their revenue was down, their expenditures have been down likewise. And the last is debt service. As in prior months, we are $150,000 under budget, and that was because of debt service on election equipment that I had budgeted for that we have not yet purchased. Okay, so here are the different categories and the expenditures in each of those categories. You can I think this chart really shows how much more we spend on public safety than any other category. And then this is the pie chart that shows the same thing. It shows 43% goes to public safety, 12% to public health, 11% to admin services, 9% to public works, 16% to Parks, Rec, and Expo Center, and then 9% to debt service. Okay, any questions on expenditures or?
Any questions regarding expenditures? All right, no?
Unless you have, that concludes my report, unless you have any other questions.
Any other questions regarding this? All right, thank you very much, Betty. Our next item.
Item 5, Administrative Communications.
If there are any department heads or members of the public that have any items to bring to the commission, this would be an opportunity to do so.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Black again with Public Works and Solid Waste. I have a couple items on the Public Works side I want to mention. As you recall, last week I gave a little presentation on sewer rates for the Sherwood sewer system, and it was requested that we have 3 public meetings. Since that time, we have been in communication with the facilities director at USD 437, and we have they have agreed to allow us to use Farley Elementary on January 6th, 14th, and 20th. So we'll be having meetings, public meetings for people to come in and discuss rates at those times. We will be sending out notices, but with holidays coming up, I wanted to just get it out there now and let everybody aware as early as possible. But we have 3 dates set up for those discussions. And then secondly, as you may recall, tomorrow we have our bid opening for the Willard Bridge. It's at 2 o'clock. We're excited and anxious to see what might come of those, but just wanted to be aware that we have a big thing going on tomorrow.
Tom, if we could take just a moment, because that really is a big deal. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock is when we will open the bids for anybody that wants to bid on in contracting for the Willard Bridge, correct?
Yes.
So if you are a contractor, bring your pencils, have them sharp, have them ready. We are ready to build a bridge. And so this is going to get built. We are serious about this. This is a top priority for our county. So we look forward to having everyone here tomorrow.
Yes, correct.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next item. Or, I guess, any other administrative commissions. Sorry, next person.
Alice Weingartner Health Agency, and as I'm sure many of you are already aware, the Marion Clinic has announced that they will be closing at the end of this month. And part of the information that's been communicated to the patients at Marion Clinic is that the Community Health Center does have the ability to accept new patients. And so we just want to make sure we get that message out broadly. For folks who are needing a primary care provider, in order to schedule an appointment, they would just call 251-2000 and press option 3, and that would take them directly to scheduling. There is a process that patients would have to go through in order to get services. We do income assessments on our patients because we have the ability to provide discounts for our services. We accept patients who have insurance. We accept patients who do not have insurance. So I think that's also important to note. And we also have the ability to establish payment plans for those folks who might have a little difficulty in paying their bills in full. We also accept patients who are part of the Health Access Program. That's a program in the community that helps coordinate the care for patients who do not have insurance. In addition, some of the benefits of the Community Health Center is we do have a prescription assistance program, and so we have staff who can help individuals get their medications at little to no cost. And then we do also have interpreters on staff for those individuals who might be better served in Spanish, and then we also have language line for individuals who are served in other languages as well. I'll also note that we are looking to fill some vacancies within our clinic, and so we have reached out to the Marion Clinic staff and have expressed our desire for them to apply for those positions, as we do with anybody else who might be looking for employment in a primary care setting. So we will continue to work with our community partners to get those individuals served as timely as we can. So I'd be glad to answer any other questions.
It's just important to note that the Shawnee County Health Clinic is open for business, and we are taking new clients.
We are. And I also think it's important to note, too, that Marion Clinic is maintaining their dental operations, which is a very important service in our community. And so I think it's important that that get recognized as well. So,
Thank you.
251-2000, option 3.
correct.
Okay.
To schedule an appointment.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you.
Morning again, Commissioners. Allison Alejos, Health Agency. I just wanted to remind you all that the Communicable Disease Clinic and our immunization services are closed today and tomorrow, so that they can move over to the 10th Street Clinic. They will resume operations on Monday at the 10th Street Clinic, and we're very excited about the space. I think it's going to work very well for those services. So just wanted to remind you.
Great, thank you.
Morning, Commissioners. Again, Dustin Nichols. I just wanted to share something I'm really excited about. 2 days ago, we had our training program and exercise workshop, which basically is all of our agency partners, whether they're county, city, private industry, volunteer groups. We come together and we consolidate our training ideas, what we want to see based on our needs in our community, public safety needs, and then we start formulating groups to bring in training classes or whatever, or exercises, or whatever we can work together. It saves money, promotes us cooperation, coordination, and it really is a positive thing for public safety in our area. Similar to what we briefed earlier with the Sheriff's Office and Emergency Management sharing some duties, but this is even broader than that. This brings in the whole community, and this is a really positive step in our strategic plan moving forward. So I'm really excited about it, but I wanted to brag. It's a really cool deal. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Larry Moss, Shawnee County Treasurer. I promise you this is the last time I'm going to say it this month or even this year, but Sunday is the deadline for paying your taxes, December the 20th. Postmarks of December 20th or earlier will result in no penalties. So I encourage you to get into our office today or tomorrow. You can come in Monday, and we will forgive penalties on Monday, but I don't want to encourage any procrastination on anyone's part. So the lines have been rather short. We've been processing mail on time. Things are going very well, but Sunday is the last day or the due date for taxes.
Treasurer Ma, I thought that your message was going to be buy more cars, because according to Betty, that's where we seem to be making some money. It's motor vehicle.
Actually, the number of vehicles being registered is up this year, and we've been doing some very good business here the last 3 to 4 months on new cars, so I think the economy is coming back.
We encourage you to buy more cars. Any other administrative communications this morning? Commissioner Bueller? Commissioner Archer?
Quickly, we had a 3-hour JADO meeting last night. 3 hours is becoming the norm, it seems. But it was a very positive meeting. And there were many positives for 2015 from Go to Pica that talked about jobs and capital investment in our community. And in addition to that, there was a plan of work for 2016, and there were a lot of exciting initiatives that Go to Pica brought up. So I'd like to give special thanks to Scott Smathers, who is the Vice President of Go to Pica. I'd also like to give a special thanks to Scott Griffith, who is the President of the Board of Go to Pica. Scott served in 2015, and to maintain consistency, he's also going to serve again in 2016. Some people just love pain, I guess. And finally, I'd like to give a welcome to Matt Pavarnik, who is going to be the new CEO of the Chamber and Go to Pica. And Matt is a dynamic young leader who is going to have impacts on this community for years to come. And I'm excited about him being here. So that's it, Mr. Chair.
My administrative communication, I want to go back to the Willard Bridge. we cannot stress enough that this is a top priority for our county, and that tomorrow is a critical juncture for the Willard Bridge. It sets a benchmark for us to evaluate what our costs for the bridge are going to be. We do have funding sources identified. We are going to be moving forward in 2016. We do have a deadline of completion looking at December of 2017. I cannot stress enough that tomorrow is going to be one of those days that is critical to the furthering of the Willard Bridge, and we look forward to all contractors appearing and putting in your bids. So we are open for business. Madam Clerk, our next item.
Item 6, executive session.
There is a need for an executive session. I would move for that for, say, 20 minutes on items relating to employer-employee negotiations, issues concerning department heads, and consultation with legal.
That's attorney-client?
Attorney-client.
Okay.
I usually have my cheat sheet, and I left it sitting on my desk, so I'm winging it as to making sure that we get the big three.
A second.
Motion made for 20 minutes in executive session by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? We are adjourned in executive session.
I don't know what to do now, because it's already...
We are back from executive session. No action taken. We are adjourned.
Did you notice anything different about Cindy Harper, the way she looks?